Hello,
Hello.
welcome to our conversation. Our February artist is a Nova member, a talented and lovely artist, which I can't wait to start this conversation with her. She's Despina Zografos. Welcome to our conversation.
Thank you for having me here. I'm very, very happy to be here with you, Farrin. Allow me to introduce myself. I come from Crete, and I studied the Fine Arts School of Athens painting. And then I continued my studies in Scotland, where I studied art therapy. And also for a short period, I stayed in Lisbon, where I was working there through, Erasmus program. So I stayed there for 6 months, and I studied at the Fine Arts School there. I moved in New York in 2010, and I started with my artistic practice again in almost 2017. So there was a gap in between.
Yeah, okay. Wow, wonderful. So you are from Land of Gods, and art kind of follows you, right? Since Greco-Roman means most of art and myth and stories all came from those lands.
Mhm.
How you started in this country? Did you? I should ask you this: what type of art you started at the beginning?
I studied painting, and also, when I was doing my thesis, I was doing some installations, video installation, and some artwork that had to do with embroidery, taking inspiration from embroidery. So somehow, when I started my work here, I took part of this, let's say, initial artworks that I was doing, and somehow they involve, because the element of let's say shadow, and the element of creating a surface where you can see what there is behind. It was also, some seeds of these ideas. They were part of my initial, let's say, my thesis, and when I graduated from the Athens School of Fine Arts. When I came here, I mean, at the beginning, of course, I had no connection, nothing. So I start this work. I was taking picture of my shadows. I mean, our shadows was always attracting my attention, and at the same time, I was looking, behind every shadow, or with a shadow, I was looking the source of light that creates a shadow. So when I was, let's say, regularly taking pictures of my shadow in different environments. And when I became a mother, I noticed that my shadow changed drastically, as my life as well. So, I was recording this new form of my shadow, which was
Actually,
myself.
I have a picture of it. Let me just go to that. Then I come back to.
Yes, this is the picture. So it is the stroller of my twins and myself pushing the stroller. So that was the initial, how can I say, inspiration. So taking that shadow, and when, let's say, I mirror the shadow, it looked like a butterfly. So I start playing with that shape, and with the idea of the web as well. I created two motifs, and having in taking also inspiration from crochets and embroideries, which was very familiar to me, because I was always witnessing members of my family, making those, embroideries very elaborate. And I was fascinated what, let's say, a thread can create, and the women could create, and taking that as inspiration, I create some motifs. And then the next step was I would like to see what there is behind. I would like what would happen if I would eliminate some piece of the paper, and that would create, let's say, a lace,
Yeah.
somehow a lace-like surface, so I would be able to add another layer behind. I would able to see what there is behind. So this is what I was doing, and the opportunity for me to first show my work, it came in 2017, and through a way, let's say that it was unexpected. I was a member at the time of National Association of Art Therapists.
Okay.
Of art therapists here. It was a group, a group where, you know, a lot of people would exchange ideas, information, and all that. So through that group, another art therapist posted an open call for art, and she said the gallery that I'm a member in is having an open call for art. So I applied. Said, why not?
Yeah.
Let's do it. And I was accepted, and this is how I first
Yeah.
I had my first opportunity.
Yeah, your journey. See that. So this is the type of art you started. I mean, as I said, I know you mentioned you started with the painting, but professionally as an artist, at least in this country, you started with this cut,
Yes, yes.
you know,
Yes.
and okay. And I say most of your work are inspiration, which is inspiration came from nature, right? Geometric and vegetal and animal, and you combine these things together.
Yes, definitely.
So my question is how you do this. I mean, I know, first of all, when I saw your work last year, actually, I was really fascinated with this type of art. You have very simple, at the same time complex. What type of paper you use? Do you trace and then start cutting? I know like some type of, it remind me of this paper folding and cutting, you know. I don't think so you do that because I think paper are quite thick, right? They are not normal paper.
Yes, it is. It is a thick. It is a Bristol paper that you use for painting. So it is a quite thick paper, and I make the first. I make the design. I find, you know, how I like. I combine. I make the composition how I like it, and when I find this, I trace the design on the paper from the back, because I want to keep, you know, the
Keep it clean.
clean, exactly. And then I start, you know, I use an X-Acto knife and a type of ruler, and I start, you know, cutting a small piece of paper, and this is my meditation, you know.
Yeah, and it takes, how long it takes you to create something so symmetrical and complex and at the
Uh,
same time clean?
you mean the design, the initial design?
To do the whole process, how long it takes to create a piece like this?
You know, I cannot say exactly, because to be honest, I started because, you know, I had this question myself and said, how long did it take? Because a lot of people, when they first see, they say, oh, how long does it take? So I start counting, and then somehow I lost track of time, and
Yeah.
I forget to count, let's say, 1 day of work. So it didn't work, but it takes, I don't know if I can put a number, but it's because you have also to keep in mind that there are two layers. It's not one. It is one layer, and there is another one at the back. So I would say it takes a lot of time, but I enjoy it.
That's fine because I believe it because I think it's not that you sit down and just do finish all at once. It's something you
Yes.
have to put your mind in it, and with the smallest error, you kind of destroy the whole thing. One broken, and then you have to redo it. So I understand, like, you know, you have to be in the right mind to kind of put your mind and do this. And I draw a lot of geometric, and I teach geometric drawing too. And always I tell my student, this is, if you want to ease your mind, you have to sit down and you have to put 100% attention, because with a tiniest error, you destroy the whole thing and you have to redo it. That's about geometric to be symmetrical, right? The concept, I'm teaching Islamic geometric, which is all is about symmetry and repetition. That's the whole concept. And with even myself, when I not in the right mind, a tiniest error, that means I have to redo all my hard working. And I see you have several layers to the idea, I think, for you to do this, to capture this light and shade, right? That means you see this light shade behind. So is there a box? Is it a box in, or you painted black on the background? How that?
You know, the one that it looks back at the black at the background, it is a chipboard, you know, a brown chipboard that's where I keep the paper. I put the paper on top and I keep it secure. I don't move it.
Okay.
So at the back, when I lift the paper, the design of what I cut, it is also engraved on the chipboard at the back.
Okay.
Because you know the way that the marks of the knife. So it is a record of the process as well. So I keep it at the background as a record of the process of the action of paper cutting. It's not easy to see it if you don't go very, very close. You know, you need to go close to notice these marks. But for me, it is important to be there because it adds another layer, and it is also, you know, the process. It is.
Yes, yeah. Very interesting. So I see, like, you know, this is this a series. Would you explain a little bit about the series? I have a couple of them here, which is you sent me.
Yes.
Could you explain where you get the inspiration and what is this series, which I have some images of them here.
So these the last few pieces, you know, they start becoming more not organic. I don't know if it is the right word. The shape changed from the square that it was initially. Most of my pieces initially they were square. Then I start a square or rectangular. So then, like the one behind me. So then I started, I wanted to create other shapes. So I played with, you know, different combinations, and new shapes came to life. And then another thing that I added to these pieces is that writing around the pieces, which is punctured. I puncture the paper. I do small holes, and these holes they the shape of the letter. So I wanted also those pieces to have a message that it is important for me. I mean, it is a saying that some of them they make me laugh, or not to laugh, they make me smile. You know, the way say, there is some truth in it for me, and I would like to share that with other people too. So you know, the viewers too.
So each one has different message. So these are not the title of work. This is just the message. And
Yes.
Okay.
Stroller is the title for this body of work, and it is a word that I made up, combining, let's say, the word stroller and the word Tera, that meaning, let's say, wings,
Okay.
wings in Greek. So I combined the English language and the Greek language, and I made up a word, which is, let's say, Persian to Lepidoptera. That is, you know, the...
Why you choose this title for it?
Because it reminds me of a butterfly. It reminds me of an, you know, an insect flying. So it was that visual image that gave me the idea to combine something which is, let's say, the stroller has the wheel on the ground, but at the same time it was transformed to, you know, butterfly, and also the sense, the sense of transformation. It is very important on these pieces too, because the paper is being transformed from
being a plane to something, you know, reborn, something new.
Exactly. Motherhood and it is a transformating experience, for me. So I wanted to incorporate that meaning of transformation, which is part of, uh, my daily life. And
Yes.
that's
And
why.
everyone life, right? Transformation
Exactly.
is just that's we all doing every day, transforming into something new, something hopefully better. I
Yeah.
have a short video of your work, which is I'm going to play it, and then you can explain a little bit over this. And so this is the process you started for tracing, and then you start cutting little by little by little, whenever you are in the right mood, of course,
Mhm.
and until it transforms into
Mhm.
something beautiful, a butterfly out of cocoon.
Mhm. I like the
So
cocoon.
this is each piece you do it individually, the back
Yes.
layer and the
Yes.
front layer, and then you put them in a canvas, right? I mean, in a
Ye-
frame.
Yes, and it's not, I also experiment with that because I have an idea what, let's say, the second layer would be, but I can always, try something else. And every different layer can, of course, it's another visual um, result. So
Transformation,
exactly, another transformation because one on top of the other, it creates a third, let's
yeah.
say.
So at the
Um,
same time, the design should be related, but not so different adds different and not so different, right? To kind of connect these two together, because you don't want something totally different. You want
no,
something slightly different. Yes.
exactly. I keep the same motif, but I change the shape, I change the configuration, and it becomes abstract. And now that you mentioned also, a web is connections, and those two are connected, even though they are apart, but they are connected. And there are the connections that we have with everything around us, the connections that we have, let's say, with nature, the connections that we have with in our with people around us, the connections that we have, with universe. It is the web for me. It is, just
Yeah.
for
And
everybody.
the whole idea is to be different, but at the same time, one,
Mhm.
that's the whole word. This differences makes unity. So unity, it's from differences. If there are like yin and yang, right? They are different at the same time one, but there are a tiny bit of each within another one. So that create unity, that create one. So that's also a reply to your work, this yin and yang,
Yeah.
create balance. Okay, so I see beside this white, which is white and white, you call it, right?
Mhm.
And you have a series of color background.
Mhm.
So what this series is about and why you decided to put little color and white?
I wanted to see that, I was experimenting, and the yellow here is not yellow; it is a gold color, and I wanted to have that, let's say, shiny. It also, as the light changes, beside the shadows that they change. It is the gold color as well, because sometimes it's more shiny, some others not. So I wanted to play with that element, and as a reference to the light, to the sun that creates a shadow. And in this particular, let's say, interpretation, it is the shadow is light. It's
Yeah,
the
or different reflection of sun and
yeah.
sun rays. Yes.
So that was the idea behind that. So I use, let's say, colors, initially blue, because it is a color that it is part of me, sky, sea, I was
You are an islander anyway.
Exactly. I grew up in
That's about coming from Greece. Everywhere you found bar. And the beauty of it, every beach is different. I loved it last summer.
yes, yes.
Everywhere I went, warm, cold, sandy, not sandy. So that's part of you, right? Blue. It's kind of in your blood. Probably the color of your blood is blue too.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. I use other colors too, but blue was the first that it came, naturally to
Yeah.
me. And of course, I would like to experiment with other colors. I used orange, sienna color that it gives some orange hues. I used a red. So I was experimented with color but the idea it was I wanted to use the gold color.
Okay.
Wanted to use to make the shadow in gold color.
Okay. So everything came from this shadow and light, which is, as you said,
Yes.
that's how you started of this, like seeing your shadow and start taking picture, and then your imagination flew
Mhm.
and give birth to the type of work you're doing, right?
Yes.
So another thing I should say that the background of this type of work, are those lace?
Yes, they are doilies. There are handmade doilies that either my mother-in-law a few years ago handed me down some doilies, and I have others from my mother or from aunt. So I have a few of them, and as I told you, I was always impressed of the how complex and how with just a piece of thread, a long, very long thread, you can create art pieces like
Yes.
that. So I did cyanotypes of this artwork. Cyanotype, I don't know, are you familiar with the cyanotype technique? Or
No,
do
no,
you?
I'm not.
So it is a mainly photographic technique that you coat the paper with some chemicals. You put on top the object that you want to print, let's say. So you expose that paper to light, and and after you have to wash it with water. And that was another thing that I like about this process, that incorporates all the elements and nature elements, because it has the water, you have to rinse the paper, it has the light that you expose to light, and it incorporates the wind, has to dry the paper after. So I like that process, and the result is a blue and white, where the object the object leaves a form, and it is white, and the rest is blue. So I combine those cyanotypes of the doilies with my cat paper, that they have that idea of lace. So it is interpretation, or
Yes, yeah, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting to see, like, how you combine all these different method into one. And then so the lace, it's like you just glue it on a board, and then the
no,
different.
no. The lace, it is one paper. You can, I mean, the lace, it is a print. It becomes a print.
Okay. So it's not the actual, okay.
No, it is a
All right, all
print
right.
of the
Okay.
lace.
Okay. So that's the whole idea of this can. Okay. So
Yeah.
sorry. Now I got it.
Blue,
Because
it is called cyanotype because the paper turns blue because of the chemicals that it
okay.
is coated.
To become the color of sand. All right.
Yeah,
So,
and yeah.
I mean, your work is something you have to see them in person, I mean, I think the photo doesn't judge the complex. I mean, you judge the beauty of it and you see how complex, but I think they are something you have to see them in person and zoom in and, go closer and look into all those different process.
Because in person you can see also the interaction of the shadows, you can see how they move, you can see, because they are not, there is a space between the layers, so that creates something, it makes the work to breathe, because it's not when you move there is also movement.
Yes.
the piece. So yeah, of course you have to experience in person.
Yeah. I'll
Makes a
definitely look forward.
difference.
And I saw you also, this is, I think, it's your recent series and experiment, which is you doing on printmaking, you mentioned.
Yes. I'm a resident artist in the Art League of at the Art League of Long Island for this year. So through that residency, I had the opportunity to attend a workshop and printmaking workshop. And this is a technique which is it is solar play technique, which is again a mainly photographic based technique. So you have a piece of metal that it is coated with some chemicals, and then a photograph in transparency, and with you can transfer that transparency to the metal by exposing it to light. Okay, there is a process, and then you have that metal plate, and you can print and experiment, and that's something that it works for my work, because I want to do geometric and mirroring images, geometric images. And this particular, it is a picture that I took while cutting the paper. I lifted the paper and I took a picture of the shadows.
Okay. Wow. I can see it now when you
Yes,
mentioned it.
yeah.
Very interesting. So I see, like, you still with the same subject, but you experimenting in new technique and media.
Yes, definitely, because I'm fascinated with all that. So
Yeah.
and also in this particular, the previous slide that you saw with the print, it looked to me, the one before. I don't know if you can show it again.
Oh, this one.
No, this one. It looked to me like a dance. I was looking figures dancing, and it stirs my imagination. So I guess I'm fascinated with all those
Yeah.
things. So I
For the
continue to.
movement, for the light and shade, And then, as I said, when you're an artist, you have to have imagination. And you put two and two together and create something beauty as this.
Yeah.
And this look like you have some, like,
Thread. Yes. In this one, I wanted to add, and another pieces that come from prints, I wanted to add thread, because this one is a silver thread and black thread. I wanted to do two things, because of that idea came from crochet, embroidery. So the idea of the thread is present, and I wanted also to transform the image in a way that with thread. So I added silver. Of course, when you see it in person, it is more shiny, and it gave me this idea of frequency.
yes,
that something that's it is moving. It has a pulse.
yeah.
So this is something else that I'm experimenting with now.
Currently, right? These are the things right now you're experimenting, printing,
Yes.
mix it.
Yes. And this is a dance.
Okay.
I wanted to make that. It is through my residency. Again, I did some short poses that I love to do. I love to do the short poses because they keep me in here and now. When you have to, in 2 minutes, and in those 2 minutes, you have to catch a movement of, let's say, it is, for me, it is, I enjoyed it very, very, very much. So through that, let's say, I chose some of those drawings, and I use the same technique, the solar plate technique. So I have, let's say, the plates, and then I start experiment with that, and add more in a paper, in different configurations. And I want those to become, like a dance, women dancing.
Movement, dance, and repetition, that's part of you in geometry. I also, before we finish our conversation, our time is very limited. I want to just briefly show your website. Despina's website is beautiful, very easy to navigate, and she has a huge collection here, which you can see this beautiful work. I mean, I'm fascinated with this, and I would love to see them in person, maybe sometime soon, and which you can see and experiment. And you can reach out to her if you have any question about her work. So, Despina, do you have any last word or suggestion
I
or
would like
advice
to
for
talk
artists?
about the one that you are just showing. So this
Okay.
is part, it is, the idea was to light again. So these are creatures of light. I was lifting the paper, and as the light was going through, the cat paper was creating a form, a beautiful form, and I was fascinated of that, let's say.
And then close, you see the form by the shape.
Yeah, yeah, so I keep videotaping, photographing, because it is a form being born for the light, and I was just fascinated by that.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I see this inspiration, which is you mentioned, and the form changes how based on the light and shade. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So do you have any last word advice or suggestion for our fellow artists? Despina?
Well, my suggestion, what I repeat to myself as well, is keep working, and experimenting, and not taking it personally when I'm not accepted or invited to an art show. Just keep working and enjoying what.
Never give up.
Yes, and when the time is right, I guess the opportunity will be there, and we need to be ready. We need to have work ready to show when the opportunity comes.
Thank you very much, Despina. It was really a pleasure, and I'm glad I had this conversation with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for it. It was a pleasure for me as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.